Welcome, everybody, to week 2 of our Create Task Mastery Elevate Your APC CSP Teaching Game Workshop. My name is Jason Slabotsky, and I will be facilitating this second week as well. I want to thank everybody who has been going through this workshop in order to earn their 5 hours of credit. Okay, if you attend both the first session and today, and then you did those asynchronous assignments, you will get a letter certificate of completion from me, an email up this upcoming week. Okay, so I just wanted you to be aware of that. But let's get into what we will be doing today. So last week when we met, I walked you guys through how to basically facilitate the create task the way that we do here at UTeach. You'll get PDF versions of our teaching materials and our student materials that you did in the workshop, the entire create task module. I'll share it with you guys. But what we did last week is we focused on the beginning of the create task, what makes up a good create task, what's expected of the students. And then this past week, and I'm showing you what Codio looks like as a teacher. This is my grade book, so you could see how many people started the assignments and how many people completed them. I was really excited to see this many people working on it. Maybe you just wanted to try out our built-in IDE. Um, you know, Anything you want to do was up to you. So I'm glad to see so many people tried it out, but I'm just going to show you guys today using some of these sample assignments that people worked on, what we're going to do next. And that is we had you plan out your document. Then we had you make up a sample create task, and most of you used AI to do that, which is exactly what I wanted you to do. And then I asked you to make up the digital artifacts, that you'd submit and also do the written response. And a lot of people are like, well, why do we do a written response practice here when you also have a CT7 assignment, which is written response, okay? And you'll see why today. You see, we give you this written response assignment here because we just feel like it's important for your students to know everything that they're going to have to do in the actual create test. So we want to make sure that they know everything that's going to be expected of them. We want to make sure that they know the purpose, the function, that they know what the procedure is, what the test calls are, so that when they do the artifacts, they get them right. But then I'm going to show you tonight, the answers that they give you for this are not going to earn the points on the written response that they have to do on the multiple choice testing day, on exam day. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. All right, so let me just start off here by backing up in time. Now, we had Mark Emery on, which was awesome last week. He was the assistant chief reader, and he shared a lot of good information with us. But I didn't get a chance to really do a deep dive into the chief reader report nitty gritty. Mark did a good job of basically summing up the important facts for us. So what I want to do is I want to get into that first. So, and I'm just having people come in, so if I pause, please excuse me. So now what we have here is, this is the scoring guidelines, okay? It is out of 6 points, all right? And we kind of reviewed it last week, but the reason why I'm showing it to you this week is because we're going to simply ask ChatGPT to take the written responses we did and then ask it, would it earn the points on the AP CSP scoring guidelines for project video? Or more specifically, the tough one, 2C for procedure and data abstraction. So that's why we're looking at this again, because what Mark told us last week is totally true. The students do really good on the first 3 rows, the video, making sure their program contains everything, okay? And making sure that it has a program, has the function and a purpose. But then when we get into these last 3 rows, talk about the algorithm, the list, and then the procedure, okay? That's where the students start to struggle, okay? And we saw that in the actual chief reader report. Okay, now I showed you this last week quickly about how many students pass overall, and passing is a 3, 4, or 5, and then how many people don't get that passing grade, which is 36%, and that's increased 3% from a few years ago. So that's going up. But we actually have the average scores that the students are getting on the first three rows. And Mark was right. 0.94 average score, 0.78, and 0.77. Compared to the last three rows, where it's 0.56, 0.20, and 0.25, which means we need to improve on the written responses that the students are giving about the procedure and about the list. Those are where they're struggling. And that's what we're going to focus on today. So, in our curriculum, to back up again, in the review sample assignments, we do have all of those grade assignment samples that College Board gives you, but we do have the one that we give you here at UTeach. And I just like to show you this because it has everything that you would need in a completed, uploaded create task. We have a scoring commentary or a scoring, our written response that we filled out here. Okay. And I know, I told you that last week, I know these are all perfect responses because I asked ChatGPT, and ChatGPT, I cut and pasted them in, and ChatGPT told me they were perfect, that I would get the point. So the next thing is, you remember your students have to have, well, they're going to have their program, but they need to have the PDF of all their program code. Okay. And then they also need to have their personalized project reference sheet. Now, this is what they're uploading to the digital portfolio. Okay. This is where they're going to take the code snippets. All right. But in order to be able to do this part right, that's why here at UTeach, we have the students do this assignment here, CT5. And I'm just going to pull this from one of the students that we had in our class here. Fernando, if you're on the call, all right, I just wanted to use your project. I didn't, for no reason, I just opened you up before I began. All right. And I noticed here, that first of all, just a quick plug for our platform. Our platform has something called code playback. Now, I wanted everyone to cut and paste programs into the IDE, but if you wanted to check if your students really did their work, all you would have to do is right click over here and hit code playback. And now when I hit play, you notice, boom, everything just appeared like a big blip, like the Avengers, blip, everything appeared. If you wanted your students to type their own code, you should see the code typing across the screen, character by character. So it is a cool feature that we have, code playback. Yeah, your students, you can watch your students coding, and when they make errors, it crosses it out. So cool feature that's built into the platform. But anyway, remember what I said last week. The program running and not running is two things. So here it says sporting goods store. All right, select a number 1, 2, 3, or 0. If I enter 1, it asks me how many frisbees I would like. I say 2. All right, but now let's say I want to enter in something beside 1, 2, 3, or 0, like the word dog. Okay, it doesn't work. And that not working is good. That means the program does two things, and that's the requirement of this program. So if I move on now, we see here that Fernando filled out all of the information you could see here. And what I want to do here is just pull out the answer for procedure. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go into ChatGPT and I'm just going to paste this in and then ask it, would this earn the 1 point on the AP CSP scoring commentary or scoring guidelines for question 2C? Okay. And when I did that, because I did it ahead of time, because who knows how long it's going to take for ChatGPT to think on the spot here when I'm doing a live live webinar. And here's what it says. Okay. The response you provided would not earn the point for question 2C. And here's why. Now, this is important. I really don't expect your students to be able to get the point when they're doing it originally, because it's not really, no one's asking them that. They're just making sure the program runs, that it has the functionality it's supposed to, and it contains the key elements that we're asking for. But now after they get the program done. Now it's time to look at the program and say, how could this be written differently if I didn't have the list? And that's where AI can come in handy and give them tips on how to answer these questions. So you can see here, it's going to say it didn't earn it. To earn the point, the response must do the following. All right. And it even tells us the response mentions the procedure purchase, which is good. It states that purchase displays the menu, which is also good. I think that's very funny. But it does not mention any parameter or explain how the procedure contributes to the overall functionality. Now, in fairness, the question for assignment CT5 didn't ask that of Fernando, but this is just a good way of showing your students how much that ChatGPT can help them. And this is what you're going to be doing with your students. All right. You're going to be able to take assignment CT5, use AI to improve on their written responses, and then test them on those written responses in CT7. Okay. And that's how we're going to boost up those points on those rows on the scoring guideline where the students tend to struggle the most. Okay. Now, let me shut down a couple of these. And thank you, Fernando, for allowing me to use your project. So that's what this assignment is that I included to kick off this week's session. All right. How to use ChatGPT to assess the written response. And that's what I want you to do with your students. Okay. And I gave a sample here. Okay. And I think I chose a different row and all that. But you could see, you could talk to ChatGPT. All right. And you could even ask it other questions like, provide a sample of a response that does earn the point. All right. College Board didn't want students to use AI on the actual exam, but they never said anything about students using AI to prepare for the exam. Okay. And you see, this is why I do things ahead of time, but it does provide it. And then check it out. It gives you a little check mark of mentioning everything that it should. All right. My district has ChatGPT blocked. I'm sorry, I just get into the chat box real quickly. Um, so not to give our course a plug, but we have a AI bot built into Codio that will assist your students, but won't tell them the answers, called Codio Coach. So we don't have that problem with blocking ChatGPT in your district. If it's blocked in school, have students do this at home, the assignments, and use AI at home. If not, Claude or Anthropic is one that might not be blocked by your school. DeepSeek, as we know, just jumped into the scene. And if teachers have any other suggestions, feel free to throw them in the chat box as well. All right. There you go. Find usually works in most schools. So yeah, thanks. If you guys have anything that you can think of, just throw it in there. But yeah, if it's ever blocked, just have your students do it at home. I know students don't do work at home usually. But if you're asking them to actually improve on something like this, they will see the importance in the activity, on how much AI can improve on what they already wrote. All right, so that's what we're doing here in this assignment. Now, one other thing I did provide you with is, because I do a lot of workshops for AI in general, is you want to model AI correctly in your classroom. If you can model AI as more as like more of like a partner that your students can brainstorm with, and not just something that'll tell it the answer, tell them the answers. They might be more like open to working with AI in a manner where they'll actually learn in the process. So I do include in this assignment on the second page for you, like I always tell my students, think of ChatGPT as like R2D2 without the body, right? You could talk to it, but it's not perfect because it's going to hallucinate. And what I like to do with the students is teach them how to build effective prompts. And we talked about this last week when we asked ChatGPT to create a sample create task for us. But then afterwards, we made sure to say, make sure it contains a procedure that passes a parameter, a list that's integral to the program functioning, and that the code is written in a way that a ninth grade student can understand it. And it kind of, for lesser of a term, dumbed it down so that we can actually say, all right, let's say that this was written by a beginning programmer. Okay, so the effective prompts is what is a beginning programmer? I'd rather just say a ninth grade student, a seventh grade student, somewhere along the lines like that. But for you, I do include this Simon Says game where you can go through and see all these different things that AI can be doing for you in the classroom as well. All right, so I just wanted to show you that is how we would use AI to better prepare our students for the written response portion of the exam. Okay, so, alrighty. So we were here in this assignment, okay, CT7, and one of the things in assignment CT7 is this assignment is to be done with your students a couple weeks before the exam. After your students have used AI to, write better written response prompts, now it's time to do this assignment. This assignment has all the sample questions that College Board has put out there. And you'll see here, it contains sample questions from the CED, the 2024 set one questions, and the 2024 set two questions. And just like Mark told you last week, half the questions will never be released. Okay. So these are the ones that are out there. And in this assignment are all the ones for your students to practice. Okay. And what I like about what I'm giving you is I'm not only giving you the student materials, I'm giving you the teaching materials as well as a PDF. So you'll have access to all of what you'll see here. And that is these purple boxes. These are the sample responses, the rubric built into it, for a lesser point, the correct answers. Not that, there's a generic answer for everything because the programs are all going to be different, but we have the rubrics built in there for the scoring criteria. So these here, these first set are from the CED. All right, everyone can access these. We just cut and paste them into this assignment. And the first written response is about program design and function. Algorithmic development is the next one. Okay, errors in testing, and we talked about this. These are those parameters you're passing through the procedure. So the fact that the students really struggle with this part is really concerning. Okay, we should be able to teach them, just like I showed you, that by entering numbers 1, 2, 3, or 0 into Fernando's program, it works. But if I enter dog, it doesn't. And then the other one, data and procedural abstraction. This is the hardest one, the one that most students don't get the point for, which means we're going to have to use AI to really improve on that one. All right, now, here is the 2024 set one questions. Okay. And the reason why I think this is kind of funny is because they give us a mishmash of sample questions. It's not like they say, here is, one sample question. So here we have question number one, talking about input functionality. What was one valid input to your program and what your program does with that input? Question number 2A, okay. Consider the first iteration statement included in the procedure section of your PPR. What is being accomplished by it? So this assignment over here, is there any sample response for runtime error which got a full score? I don't believe so. But I can look into that as well and get back to you. Question 2B, all right, 2C. And then we have these questions as well. Question 1, question 2A, question 2B, and question 2C. So we like to take this assignment, we administer it to our students a couple weeks before the exam, we get them to put it in here, and then we take these responses, we paste them into ChatGPT, and we say, would they earn the point, right? And that's really what you want your students to do. And, the reason why College Board allowed this is because we talked about this last week as well. Because they can use AI to actually do the Create Task program, they're more concerned with not can the students write a program, but can the students read a program and then debug that program and explain it to you and explain how it can be written differently to do the same thing. So that's really what they're assessing now on the exam. So that is how, in our curriculum, just to back it up here, we facilitate assignments CT1, CT2, and CT3 with our students, okay? That is not part of the time that the students get doing the program on their own. The students, just like you did this past week, will do 4, 5, and 6 on their own. And by doing 4, 5, and 6, you saw this past week, if you were one of the people who did it, that you can do the entire program, you can make your video, you can take your code segment pictures, you can make your PDF, and you can upload it through the digital portfolio, and you don't need any input from the teacher. If you were a student using our curriculum, you would have gone through that process. And then you will take the answers from CT5, work with AI, improve on those responses, and then administer CT7 somewhere a week or two before the written response and the multiple choice portion of the exam. Okay. And that's how we facilitate the create task using our module. Right now, I know a lot of you out there do not use our curriculum, and that is totally okay. So since you don't use it, I did want to make sure that you did get access to all of these materials. So to wrap up, I included this link here, okay? And this is all of the documents that we did in this workshop as PDFs. And I just stuck them in Google Drive so it'd make it easier for everyone to access. But the first one is everything we did the way you see it as a student in student view, okay? But then I also included in here the teacher view. And let me show you what I mean by teacher view. So for each one of our assignments, and let's back up to the first one I gave you, CT1, okay? Well, every assignment that UTeach has, we have a detailed teacher lesson plan, but then we also have embedded guidance built into the assignment. So I wanted to share that with you as well. So here is the teacher view. Okay, so in teacher view, we have an additional lesson plan page. We give you activities and pacing. Okay, this is the 2 class period assignment. So it's 2 50-minute class periods. We have homework, okay, for them to do, and all these other things built into it. So I wanted to also share with you the PDFs of the teacher view, which includes our lesson plans and all the other answers if there's any questions that have solutions in it. But it's a good way for you also, since you don't use our curriculum, to see how detailed our teacher lesson plans are. All right. So I included that in this week's module as well. And then the other thing that I included in this week's module is the sample materials for UTeach. So UTeach obviously has an AP CSP course. We also have an AP CSA course. And next year, we're releasing our Foundations of Cybersecurity course. Our cyber course is really cool. It's actually, the course itself gets hacked into by hackers, and your students have to defeat like challenges and defeat the hackers. So that's been really fun. But anyway, well, the word count. Yeah, the word count for the written response. We actually have the word counts built into our assignments for what they're allowed for each part of it. But I can also share that with you as well. But yeah, just to wrap up here, though, we do have sample materials for you guys who attended this week's workshop. If you'd like access to try out our CSP course and our CSA course or our cyber course, you just have to follow these instructions here. Now, you already seen Scratch is embedded in our platform here in Codio. Our IDE is super simple. It's just built in. You saw how easy it was for me to just open up Fernando's work and look at it. It's not like Replit. We don't share links. We don't charge anything for the IDE. It's just built in as part of our platform. CSA, the IDE is exactly the same, but instead of Python, it's Java. For our cyber course, our labs are built into Codio. You don't have to go join a cyber range. So if you are interested in taking a look at our materials, follow the instructions I have here. I'm not going to read through them. They're pretty self-explanatory, but I want to tell anybody who's watching this who is teaching in the state of Texas that TEA will fully reimburse you for the cost of our curriculum and our PD. That is $1,800. It's $1,800 for our PD and curriculum. It's $800 for our curriculum. It's $1,000 for our PD. But if you're in Texas and you want to have our CSP, CSA, or cyber course for next year, you just have to purchase it, and then TEA will fully reimburse you the full amount. All right. Really quickly, Danielle just asked, how is this different than on-ramps? I thought Project Lead the Way and on-ramps last year. So our platform is not on Canvas. I think they might be on Canvas. Our courses are on Codio. As you can see from this workshop, Codio has everything built into one spot. Everything can be done in Codio. You don't need any outside resources. The IDEs, the cyber course will have all the labs built into Codio. We have a course narrative. We have videos built into it. We have self-grading, auto-grading, multiple choice, AI built into the platform. So it just offers a whole lot more. Any virtual machines? Yes, but our virtual machines are built into Codio as well. Yeah. And one cool thing about Codio is if you are already a very proficient cyber teacher, you can add your own stuff to our course. So you can always edit our course and add your own stuff to it. Yeah, so if you follow these instructions, click on the link, all of a sudden a blue switch to teacher box will appear in the top right corner of your screen. Click on it and then follow the instructions, new course button, share code, enter it in, create course. All right, you'll have 30 days to look around and then see if you like our stuff. And if you do, not to brag, but we just did get our results from College Board for AP CSP, and our students did actually score higher than the national average on the AP CSP exam and on the AP CSA exam as well. So we were proud of that. We're not the biggest, but we might be one of the best. All right, so to wrap up, last thing I'm going to ask you to do is, if you're one of those people who want that certificate, you attended last week's workshop, you gave me a good faith effort on the asynchronous assignments, and you hopped on with me today for our quick 30-minute wrap-up session, you just have to complete this post-PD survey, and then I will send you your certificate of completion. Even if you don't want your certificate of completion, I would love for you to fill out the post-PD survey. This is the first time that we did this workshop for everybody, not just for UTeach teachers. It's gotten progressively more popular. We just added a March workshop. So if you know any teachers who would like to attend our March workshop, I will be sending the link for that to register in my email tomorrow, where I send you a link to this recording as well. Is it possible to skip Scratch and only do Python with curriculum? Brian, yes. So, yeah, we always do this. So in our CSP curriculum, we go from writing what we call people programs. Unit 1, they're writing algorithms. To Unit 2 and 3, they're using Scratch. To then Python, bootcamp. They learn how to write in Python. So we give that so that students can choose whatever programming language they want, but we also want to be versatile, right? Some middle schools do Scratch. I taught in Brooklyn, New York, near the Red Hook projects. My seniors never did any coding. So we did Scratch in 12th grade. But yes, you can adapt our course however you'd like. If you don't want to use Scratch and you want to use Python, that is totally fine. We actually have a feature built into Codio so that you can hit a button in there and say, hey, take this assignment that UTeach has, the Scratch assignment, and turn it into a Python assignment. And you just click a button and it just turns the entire page into a Python assignment. What you can do with AI in Codio is pretty impressive. And like I said, it's restricted, so it can only assist the students but not tell them the answer. But it also allows teachers to make up bots. I know that sounds scary, but you can actually personalize Codio to help you with grading and to do other things, spot student errors in codes and labs, so that you can reteach things. So you can really do a lot with Codio. But yeah, one of the things I like to say about our course is if you don't like the whole course, rip it apart, edit it, do whatever you want. You might just like to use our Python bootcamp and our create task module, and then everything else you can use is yours. All right, so please do the post PD survey. Let me know what you thought about the workshop. And yes, tomorrow I will send you an email thanking you for attending, sharing the link to this week's Zoom session, and then the registration link for the March workshop. Can't do one in May. Deadline is April 30th for the create task. But I want to thank everybody for attending live. Um, and if you have any questions or anything like that, please feel free to reach out to me. Just respond to my email that you get from me tomorrow. All right. I want to thank everybody for attending this week and attending the workshop. And good luck with those create tasks. And don't be afraid to use AI properly to get the best score you can for your students. Bye, everybody. Thanks for attending.